Chosen one, you don't have to make money anymore. You felt that, didn't you? They made you feel like the system had you in its grip, like you had to constantly strive for something. They told you, work harder, try harder, maybe then you will deserve it. But you are not an ordinary person. You are chosen. Your destiny cannot be shaped by the limits set by others. Doors will open for you by themselves. Abundance will no longer come to you with effort, but with awareness, because you no longer play by the old rules. You are the master of destiny, not the system. There will be those who just stand and watch. How is it so easy? They will ask, but they will not understand, because the world they know is an old story that you have abandoned. You are the source of abundance. You are the gravitational pull that makes money come to you. You no longer have to struggle to get it, because you are already getting what is yours. And this new order does not ask anything from you. It only expects you to take your rightful place. Think, feel, accept, and write 777 in the comments, because this new reality is waiting for you. Chosen one, abundance is already yours. You didn't leave as an act of defiance, nor did you vanish to make a point. You simply recognized that staying meant shrinking, and you had no interest in being reduced. It wasn't an exit, it was an evolution. No parting words, no grand gestures, just the quiet realization that you were never meant to beg for what should have been freely given. While others wasted time weaving illusions, you stepped beyond the need for proof. Your presence is no longer something to barter. They may still wait for a reaction, but your silence is the final word. Their world remains unchanged. A table set with scraps they once called sustenance. But you no longer dine where dignity is rationed. The moment you abandoned that scarcity, you understood. Abundance was never theirs to grant. You built something new, not from rage or regret, but from the deep knowing that nothing real requires pleading. No more seeking entry to closed doors. No more measuring your worth against those who never understood it. You did not turn your back on them. You turned toward yourself. They felt the shift before they understood its meaning. By the time they searched for your shadow, you had already stepped beyond reach. They mistook your presence for permanence, your tolerance for surrender, but they were never entitled to either. You were not made to remain bound by illusions. The moment you saw through them, they collapsed. What once held you dissolved in the face of your certainty. Every unspoken expectation, every invisible tether, they were only as strong as your willingness to believe in them. You do not waver. You do not seek permission. You have nothing to reclaim, for nothing was ever truly lost. The battlefield no longer holds your interest, because you were never at war. You were ascending, while they were still waiting for a fight. Let them chase ghosts. Let them wrestle with the echoes of a presence that no longer lingers. You have nothing left to prove. Power is not in resistance. It is in transcendence. They reach, but there is nothing to grasp. They listen, but your silence holds no hidden message. They expected struggle, conflict, anything to tether you to their world, but you refused the role they assigned. You took everything they once distorted, every illusion they projected, and you let it collapse under its own weight. Their understanding was always built on control, but you have no use for chains. You did not retreat, you recalibrated. You did not disappear, you elevated. Their noise can no longer reach where you stand. While they remain entangled in their own illusions, you have stepped into something they cannot define. What they mistook for submission was strategy. What they assumed was loss was liberation. And now, while they search for ways to reclaim what they never truly held, you move forward. unburdened, untouched, and undeniable. There is no retreat, only elevation. What once seemed like withdrawal was never surrender. It was the art of stepping beyond reach, not through concealment, but through transcendence, no longer bound by their perception, no longer defined by their grasp. The stillness was not absence, it was precision, a deliberate refusal to be drawn into the chaos that once held sway over lesser minds. They stumble in confusion, trying to decipher a presence that has already moved beyond their understanding. If you feel the abundance of divine love in your heart, now is the time to share it. You can help spread God's blessings by clicking the Super Thank You button on YouTube and contributing $20 or more. This divine gift will touch not only your life, but the souls of many through this platform. Each of you has a sacred place in God's grand design, and your generosity will be the fruit of our prayers. Act now. Share your blessings to glorify His kingdom, for you were created to do even greater things in God's loving hands. May God bless you. No longer engaged in their games, no longer part of their script, what was once a predictable rhythm is now an empty stage where they perform for no one. They search for signs of your presence, reaching for echoes of who they assumed you were. But what they fail to grasp is that you no longer exist within their frame of reference. You shattered the mold, broke the pattern, rewrote the story without them in it. The illusion they once held of control has dissipated into irrelevance. This was never about escape, it was about ascension. Not a departure, but a transformation that rendered their influence obsolete. What they once mistook for hesitation was calculation. What they assumed was loss was simply the shedding of a weight that was never yours to carry. They do not know the language of freedom, and so they mistake it for disappearance. They do not understand the art of stillness, and so they assume weakness where there is only mastery. Their confusion is their undoing. They reach, they grasp, they attempt to reclaim something that no longer exists in their dimension. Their frustration is their own making, their struggle a reflection of their own blindness. There is no battle to be fought, no confrontation to be had, because the very battlefield they stand upon is one you have already outgrown. They remain bound by the past, while you have become something untraceable, untouchable, an entity that no longer abides by their expectations. Their failures are not your concern. Their chaos no longer intersects with your path. What once held weight has been stripped of meaning, leaving them to wrestle with the absence they never prepared for. Their understanding of power was built upon the illusion of possession, and now, without the tether of your energy, they are left stranded in a space they no longer control. The silence is not an end, it is a declaration, one more powerful than any confrontation could ever be. This was never about them. It was about alignment, about stepping fully into the force of your own becoming. The weight of their expectations, their manipulations, their games, it was all dust in the wake of your realization. While they remain bound by their own designs, you move unburdened, unrestricted, answering only to the calling that was placed upon you from the very beginning. There is no return, no reconciliation, no longing for what once was. There is only forward, and forward is limitless. The trials that came against you were never signs of defeat. They were proof of your distinction. No force rises against the ordinary. No opposition rallies against the insignificant. The relentless waves that sought to pull you under only revealed the truth. They feared what you would become. Long before you knew your own strength, they saw it. Long before you recognized your own purpose, They tried to block it. Their efforts were not strategic, they were frantic, and their failure was never in question. The moment you stepped into alignment, the outcome was already sealed. Some walk paths carved by others, but not you. Some follow signs laid before them, but you move without a map. The road was never meant to be easy, and you knew that before you began. You carry a presence that shifts the unseen, a force that unsettles the comfortable. It was never about being liked, never about blending in. It was about carrying something far greater than what the world understands. The weight of unseen battles pressed upon you, the silence of unspoken truths surrounded you, yet you stood, and in standing, you reshaped the very fabric of existence. You never had to fight. All you had to do was rise. The moment you did, the balance tilted, and the illusions they wove unraveled at their feet. They thought themselves hidden, working in the quiet corners of deception, believing their shadows concealed their hands. But truth has no master, and when the time came, the veil was lifted, not by force, but by inevitability. You never needed vengeance, never needed to strike first. Their own hands built the weight that would return to them in full. Their reckoning required nothing from you but stillness. The silence unsettles them. The absence of reaction disrupts the rhythm they relied on. They expected resistance, prepared for a fight, but what they never calculated was the force moving in your favor. Their confusion is not yours to resolve. Their missteps are not yours to correct. They held the illusion of control, but illusions cannot hold weight in the presence of truth. The unseen works on your behalf, dismantling obstacles before they ever reach you. Where they stumble, you walk with clarity. Where they hesitate, you move with certainty. Like a lighthouse standing firm against a raging storm, you remain unshaken while the winds of their deception howl and crash against the rocks. They thought they could steer your course, pull you into their tempests, dictate the tides that move you, but they never understood. You are not a vessel drifting aimlessly in their waters. You are anchored in something far greater, something they could never command. No storm of theirs can uproot what was built on divine ground. No wave of manipulation, no current of deceit can drag you under. Their plans do not touch you. Their intentions do not reach you. What they once plotted in secret has already crumbled to dust. They crafted snares, believing you would walk blindly into their traps, but what they failed to understand is this: you do not move without foresight. Every step you take has already been accounted for, guided, orchestrated by forces beyond their comprehension. They whisper of luck, fate, and coincidence, trying to explain what they cannot grasp. But nothing in your life is left to chance. What they see as a random unfolding is nothing less than divine precision. Doors they believed were closed to you were never even meant for you. Paths they blocked were never part of your journey. They thought they could dictate what you receive, control what is granted to you, but they hold no authority in a realm that was never theirs. The foundation beneath you is unshakable, untouchable, undeniable. No earthly force can rewrite the script that was written in heaven before time even recognized your name. And now, they watch, confused, frustrated, because none of their efforts landed, none of their moves disrupted what was already set in motion. They counted on their influence, their tactics, their systems to limit you, never realizing you were never playing by their rules to begin with. While they scheme in the dark, you walk in the clarity of revelation. While they manipulate, you move in alignment. Their confusion is their own doing. They are lost in a maze of their own making, trying to find a way to a destination that was never theirs to reach. This is the season of separation, the point where your path diverges so completely from theirs that they no longer even cast a shadow over your steps. The things that once tried to cling to you have no grip anymore. The past no longer holds weight. The chains they hoped would keep you tethered to their level have rusted and fallen away. The voices that once whispered doubt have been silenced by the undeniable reality of your rise. They tried to make you believe you needed them, that without their approval, their validation, their permission, you would never make it. But look at you now, thriving, soaring, stepping into places they swore were beyond you, not by force, not by manipulation, but by sheer divine appointment. You did not beg for your seat at the table. You built an entirely new house, one where they have no access, and now they stand outside, knocking, hoping for entry into a space they once believed they controlled. Dear brothers and sisters, may God's peace be upon you today. I am here to remind you of a profound truth. Our existence is grounded in God's divine plan, unshaken by the temporal concerns of the world. As the Bible says, whatever is done in faith will return to God in abundant blessing. Luke 6:38. Like that great oak tree, our roots are deeply rooted in God's universal truth. Every step we take, every stand we take, is secured by His strength. And now, you are being offered the opportunity to be part of that blessing. When you use the Super Thank You button and donate $100, this movement will return to you 100-fold in abundance. But you have outgrown the space where they still exist. You have expanded beyond the limitations they tried to place on you. You are no longer reachable by their distractions, no longer moved by their attempts to pull you back into the cycle they still spin in. Their reality is shrinking, but yours is multiplying. The blessings flowing toward you now are not tied to their systems, their approvals, their structures. What is coming to you has no middleman. It is direct, undeniable, abundant. While they wrestle with confusion, you walk with certainty. While they watch doors close, you walk through ones they cannot even see. The plans they formed against you have returned to them, not because you sought vengeance, but because divine law ensures that what is sent out must return to its source. You were never meant to carry their burdens, never meant to shrink for their comfort. They may not understand it, but they will feel it. This is the moment where everything shifts. Not because you pushed, not because you forced, but because you stood in alignment with what was already written for you. And now, all that remains for them is the realization that nothing they did could stop what was always destined to unfold. You are not watched, you are witnessed. They do not simply see you, they feel the shift of your existence. The air moves differently in your presence. It is not arrogance, not force. It is the weight of alignment. Where others demand attention, you draw it effortlessly. Where others seek validation, you move in the certainty of your own path. They do not step back in fear, but in recognition. Something within them understands, even if their mind refuses to name it. This has always been beyond their reach. The structures they built crumble in your wake, not because you destroy, but because they were never strong enough to withstand what you carry. Even in your absence, the ripples remain. Even in your silence, the echoes linger. You did not retreat, you recalibrated. You did not disappear, you ascended. They assumed your quiet was weakness, that your stillness meant surrender. But what they mistook for hesitation was mastery. What they believed was retreat was the precision of one who has nothing left to prove. While they linger In their distractions, you have built. While they chased illusions of power, you have fortified something lasting. The foundation beneath you is not temporary, not fleeting. It is sovereign. You did not rise by accident. Every step, every shift, every decision was deliberate. The world does not move you. You move the world. And now, as they grasp at remnants of a game you no longer play, you stand untouched, unmoved, unstoppable. The movements made in silence were never simple steps. They were precise shifts, reshaping the unseen, long before anyone realized the landscape had changed. Now, the weight of that transformation presses against the edges of reality, undeniable and irreversible. They sense it, feel the imbalance, grasp for answers they will never find. The search is futile. You are no longer in the space where they left you. What they mistook for retreat was a recalibration, a deliberate reordering of your existence that placed you beyond their grasp. Like an eagle that was never meant to walk among pigeons, you have taken flight, soaring beyond the reach of those who once mistook you for ordinary. They thought you belonged in their world, that you would always circle the same small sky, bound by the limits they accepted as truth. But eagles are not made for confinement. You were built for the heights, for the open expanse, for the wind that lifts those who dare to rise. And now, as they look up, shielding their eyes from the light of your elevation, they struggled to comprehend how you slipped beyond their grasp. What was built cannot be undone. What you have become cannot be overlooked. As they attempt to decipher the structure of your rise, they are met with a truth that shatters their illusions. You were never reliant on them. They were merely observers of a path they had no part in shaping. They stood at a distance, assuming they understood the blueprint, believing they could predict your steps, but they never held the pen that wrote your destiny. They never saw the hand that guided you, the power that ordained your elevation long before they ever spoke your name. Now they watch as you move with an authority that was never borrowed, never granted. It was always yours. They believed influence was something to be handed out, something controlled, something measured. But real authority does not need validation. It does not need permission. It does not wait for approval. You walk in a dominion that is not given by man, and because of that, it cannot be taken. You see beyond what they see, move beyond what they understand. Your ability to perceive what lies ahead is not a trick, not a coincidence, but an instrument sharpened by something far greater than human hands. While they stumble in the fog of their own confusion, you move with clarity, guided by visions they dismissed as impossible. The road they feared to walk, you have already conquered. The mountains they said could not be moved have already bowed before you. They thought they could predict your limits, but what they failed to realize is that you have none. The moment they believed they had you figured out, you outgrew their expectations. The moment they thought they could contain your rise, you shattered every box they tried to place you in. And now they stand in disbelief, watching the impossible unfold before their eyes. There is no reversing this. There is no undoing what has been set in motion. The doors that have opened for you cannot be closed by human hands. The expansion you are stepping into is not temporary, not conditional. It is permanent. The shift is not something they can manipulate, not something they can delay. It has already happened. They may try to understand it, may try to rationalize it, but what they refuse to accept is that their opinions were never a factor. Their disbelief was never an obstacle. Whether they recognized it or not, whether they supported it or not, what was meant for you was always going to reach you. Their absence did not hinder you, and their presence never built you. What they thought was an ending was only a beginning. What they assumed was your peak was merely the first step. You were never climbing toward their version of success. You were ascending into something far beyond their comprehension. They tried to define you within their limits, but you serve a limitless purpose. And now, they are left in the wake of your transformation, wondering how they miscalculated so completely, wondering how they underestimated what they were never meant to control. The truth is simple. They never had a say. They never had a role. They were background noise in a story that was never about them. You were never meant to blend in. You were never meant to stay small. And now, as you step fully into what was always destined for you, there is nothing left for them to do but watch. Watch as you rise. Watch as you expand. Watch as you move into places they swore were beyond you. This is not just elevation. This is dominion. This is the fulfillment of something greater than they will ever understand. And whether they accept it or not, whether they acknowledge it or not, it is happening, because it was always going to happen. And nothing, not their doubt, not their denial, not their disbelief, was ever going to stop it. What lies ahead is not a mystery to you. There are no uncertainties, no blind leaps, only a knowing so absolute it renders hesitation obsolete. Every revelation, every moment of clarity is not chance, but the unfolding of a sequence already inscribed within you. While others wander aimlessly, questioning, hesitating, you navigate the unseen with a precision they cannot comprehend. This is not intuition alone. It is instruction, direct guidance from forces beyond their understanding. There is no room for doubt, no space for negotiation. The messages you receive are not whispers. They are directives, pushing you forward with an urgency that cannot be ignored. Where others hesitate, you act. Where others resist, you embrace. The alignment you walk in is not the product of mere belief. It is the manifestation of a truth so powerful it bends circumstances in your favor before you even arrive. Now is the time to share God's blessings by clicking the super thank you button on YouTube. You can contribute to His plan and be a part of this divine mission with a donation of $100 or more. Every gift reflects God's generosity, and I believe it will return to you exponentially, far beyond your expectations. Remember, His protection and blessing is on your every step and every donation. You become part of His divine plan. You are a strong, radiant being, unshakable as His mighty rock. Witness God's miracles, feel the fruits of your generosity in your soul, and illuminate the world with confidence and courage. Be blessed, and let the light of the Lord guide your path. The extraordinary has become your foundation, not an anomaly, but the structure upon which you stand. Others dismiss what they cannot grasp, reducing the unknown to coincidence or superstition. But for you, there is no need for explanation, only execution. The visions are not separate from you. They are part of your design, etched into your being before time was measured. Those who attempt to imitate will always fall short, for this is not something that can be replicated. It is something that must be lived. Their world is constrained by limits, boundaries drawn by their own fears. But there is no containment for you, no imposed ceiling that can hold your expansion. What awaits is not a metaphor, but a tangible reality, a station you were always meant to claim. Every challenge, every moment of solitude, every test you endured was not a delay, but a refinement, preparing you for the space that was never meant for anyone else. The shift was never a rejection of what was. It was the inevitable rise into what always would be. There was no disappearance, no retreat into the background. What seemed like absence was the forging of something unstoppable. While they waited for you to return to the familiar, you stepped beyond recognition. They search for you within the framework they understand, but you no longer move within those limitations. What they expected to break you only solidified your foundation. What they believed would silence you only made your presence louder. The game they thought you played was never yours to begin with, and now they are left watching, uncertain of what comes next.